I just want to welcome each and every person who has really joined us today and to say compliments of the new season. This is the first committee to sit without having a virtual members online, because we agree that we are going to be in person, all of us. So it's a matter of going back to the basics. And I just want to welcome Minister and MC Boy and Mayor of the city and especially our community members. Welcome, and we appreciate you for being with us today. So we are going to change a little bit. If you have the agenda in front of you before we do the introductions, we are going to change a little bit of the agendas. You see it. We are going to start with the City of Cape Town. And then the second one will be the briefing by the Department of Community Safety. Then Human Settlements, the briefing by South African Police Services will be the last one. The rationale being, you'll have to listen to those challenges, and also when you do the briefing, it will be also sort of, if you can indulge us in responding to some of the maybe ideas or solutions, or also the concerns that you might hear, so that we can have a very beautiful way forward. So my name is Matlodi Maseko, and I am the Standing Committee Chair for Human Settlements in Western Cape Provincial Parliament. I'm going to ask the members to introduce themselves.
Good morning to everyone. I am Member Isaac Mbulelo Silego, a new member of this committee. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Member Christopher Fry.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everybody. Khalil Brankais, member of the Western Cape Parliament.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Tertius Simmers, Provincial Minister, Infrastructure.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, everyone. My name is Malusi Poi. I'm an ECO member for Human Settlements in the City of Cape Town. Thank you.
Jordan Hill-Lewis, Mayor.
Regan Allen, Provincial Minister, Police Oversight and Community Safety.
Good morning, Chair and members. Yashina Pillay, the Head of Department for Community Safety.
Morning, Chair and members. Major General Foskel, Deputy Provincial Commissioner, South African Police Service, Western Cape.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee and the community members. My name is Nolondle Qiba, Executive Director, Human Settlements, City of Cape Town.
Good morning. I'm Ray Raghava, Director, Housing Development, City of Cape Town.
Morning, Chair. Herman Stein, Human Settlements Department, City of Cape Town.
Good morning, Chair. Director Roberts, Safety and Security, City of Cape Town.
Good morning, Shanaz Adams, Department of Human Settlements.
Good morning, Chair. Marcelino Martin, Ministry of Police Oversight and Community Safety.
Dion Leek, Department of Community Safety.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. Peggy Similane, Department of Community Safety, Monitoring and Evaluation.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Sanle Kopoka from the Department of Human Settlement. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. I'm Kamal Naidu from the Department of Human Settlements.
Morning, colleagues. I'm David Kutsia, Department of Community Safety.
Good morning, Chair and all. Roy Stewart, Department of Human Settlements, Land and Asset Management.
Good morning, Chair and all. Rob Smith, Department of Human Settlements.
Morning, Chair and members. David Harley, Department of Human Settlements.
Good morning, Chair and members. Benjamin Nkosi, Department of Human Settlements.
Good morning, Chair and members. Vuyelo Tunjalo, Head of Ministry for Minister Simmers.
Lapika Skirman, Head of Department, Human Settlements. Good morning, Chairperson and members. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. I am Brigadier Mkhabile, Provincial Detectives, Western Cape. Good morning, Chair. I'm Brigadier Anana, Provincial Head Series in Wellingrad.
Good morning, Chair. I'm Lavina Fortune from Menenberg.
Good morning, Chair. I'm Geraldine Peterson of Menenberg.
Good morning. I'm Caitlin Punstaden from Menenberg.
Good morning. I'm Tanya Morris from Menenberg.
Morning. I'm Grace Molotto from Menenberg.
Good morning. I'm Delia Matali from Menenberg.
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Smith from Menenberg.
Good morning. I'm Alicia Smith from Menenberg.
Good morning, Chair. Vincent Kruiwagen, Daily Maverick.
Thank you very much. You are the last woman standing. Okay. Thank you very much. And now that we are done with knowing who's in the house, I just want to maybe give the background to why the interaction today. So last month, of which we knew that there
Morning,
is...
Morning, Chairperson.
Who's greeting me so nicely?
Chairperson, it's Member Sean August. We were waiting for quite some time in the waiting room. I just want to say I'm in attendance. Thank you.
Okay, the reason is that every member is supposed to be in the house. That is why we didn't really acknowledge that he might be online. I don't know how did the communication get to be not in that fashion towards you only, but we appreciate that you are here. It's going to be a little bit difficult for you to ask the questions online, member, because I was expecting that you'll be in the house, but we'll see how we can work it to accommodate you. Bear with us if sometimes you will be the last one to be recognized. And I recognize your hand. Is it the legacy one or there is something you want to add?
No, I just want to add, Chairperson, we received the link for the meeting, but yes, I will participate and will be patient with and your indulgence. Thank you.
Okay, you are welcome. And again, it's Member Sean August, that is member in the standing committee. So as I was saying that there is a huge problem of extortion in Western Cape and more in the city. So there is a question that was directed to Minister Simmers, and we found out there is approximately about 18,721 beneficiaries that are negatively impacted by this extortion. So if it's in that mass, it's really, I don't even have a word how to explain it, because here is where the poorest of the poor, where we raise the expectation of the government to say that we are going to deliver the services, we are going to give our communities their human rights, and then the criminality behavior sort of changes what the government is intending to do or what the government is committing to do to our communities. Now, we took it as a standing committee that we need to have this engagement to see that how can we really work together from different spheres of government, how can we work together to make sure that we try to cut this criminality within our communities. And I'm happy that I'm seeing the community members here, because also the government cannot do that without the involvement of the communities, because if that is happening, the people that have to literally highlight that from the onset has to be the community members before the mayor can know what is it that is happening to take the action that needs to be taken. We need to have people on the ground that can say that is happening and who is doing that. So I really appreciate you community members to be with us to listen and also to be empowered by being told how can you go about to inform the government if that is happening within your communities. So without wasting time, I'm going to start with the presentation. I think the city will be the first one that is going to lead us in responding to the agenda point that we did send to you, and give the mayor a forward before we start with that presentation. Over to you, Member Jordan.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, and good morning, Honourable Members and Honourable Ministers and all other guests and attendees. It's our pleasure to be here this morning, and I will, as you said, make just some introductory remarks and then hand over to my colleague, MMC Boy, and our Executive Director, Nolwandle Xiba. And then I can also, obviously, we can all answer questions at the end. Firstly, let me say, Madam Chair, thank you very much for drawing attention to this increasingly worrisome issue in the city of Cape Town, and I know elsewhere as well. And not just in human settlements. I know that we are here today to discuss housing projects, but frankly, in every single construction site that the city is running, whether it be for a new sewer pump station, a new water pipe, a new bus lane for my city, we are trying extremely hard to roll out better and better services, particularly in the poorest communities of our city, and deliver greater dignity and opportunity for residents there. But increasingly, all of those construction sites are being undermined and delayed by extortionists. We have a huge problem in the housing space with contractors walking off site, probably understandably, given the risk to their staff, who they are primarily responsible for. So there is the practical risk that this work cannot get done or is badly delayed, or at worst, we have to cancel projects and move projects elsewhere and money elsewhere to where it's less likely to happen. And that's very, very sad and unfortunate for those communities who need access to those services. But it's more than just a practical problem. There's a principled problem as well, in that if we do not stop this, then Cape Town, the Western Cape, South Africa, will turn into a version of a mafia state in which no work can happen in the private or public sector without paying some kind of protection racket. We have to stop that. We have to avoid that from happening in our country. That would be devastating for everyone. So Cape Town is committed to doing what we can to protect the rule of law, to ensure that we can deliver services to poor communities safely and on time and on budget. And so we have really been putting our heads together to try to grapple with this issue of growing concern. You will see in our presentation what it is costing to secure some of these sites. The sites in human settlements, it is not possible to pay for the full security costs from housing grants, which means that is a additional top-line cost to the city, borne from the rates account, borne by ratepayers essentially, and it runs into tens and tens of millions of rands per site. You will also notice something, and I just want to deal with that up front, that not in every case have criminal charges been laid, and we have made it clear to contractors that we expect criminal charges to be laid in every single case of intimidation, frankly, whether there is violence or not. Even threats should be reported to the SAPS. Of course, many of these threats come along with the threat, don't go and tell the SAPS or else. And so contractors are sometimes afraid even to go and report the case. But frankly, it is every single person's responsibility to report a crime. And we must ensure that every one of these cases are reported so that the SAPS has a full picture of exactly how serious this problem is and can start to direct their resources accordingly. So hopefully we will see improvement in the number of cases registered on these sites in the coming months. We are also having a debate internally, which I'm sure the MMC and the ED will take you through, about whether we can afford and whether it will be better for us to insource the security inside the city, because it is just so unbelievably expensive to secure these sites properly, not just with a security guard, but with dogs, with lights, with many security guards, armed security. The cost is really exorbitant. So that debate is ongoing, and hopefully we can work more closely. And I know that Director Robbie Roberts is here. He introduced himself. I know that we are trying to work with the SAPS on these cases to see if we can get breakthroughs. But I think it's important to point out that the SAPS has got surveillance capabilities, interception, communications interception capabilities that no provincial government or local government has. And so it really is essential that we see some kind of breakthrough from the sophisticated crime intelligence capabilities of the SAPS in dealing with these cases and bringing some of the big fish to justice. Only when we start to set the example and show that some of these worst offenders are being brought to justice will the message go out that you cannot get away with this any longer in Cape Town. So that is absolutely critically important. We did speak with the Provincial Commissioner. I note that the Deputy Provincial Commissioner is here today. We did speak with the Provincial Commissioner about the formation of a specialized task team in the province on extortion and the crime that is closely linked with extortion. Indeed, it's another form of extortion, which is kidnapping, essentially extorting money out of people by kidnapping their family members. And we really do believe that it is important that there is a specialized force task team in this province dealing with the scourge of extortion and kidnapping, because the number of cases, the number of instances are dangerously on the rise. So that is just by way of introduction. And I would now like to hand over to MMC Boy to go through some of the detail. And of course, we're available to answer your questions afterwards. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Executive Mayor, and thank you, Chairperson. And once again, good morning to everyone. Firstly, I think if we can go to I think it's the third slide, because I think the first slide, the Executive Mayor has dealt with it on the purpose and of this particular presentation. But also this now is projects as indicated from your office chair on the projects that have been affected in the past 5 years to date. The first one, if you can see on your slide, was the issue of Delft in Eindhoven. But this particular one was an issue where there was a delay because of electrification, and there was also a protest. I must say, in addition, perhaps before I go to other projects, what the Executive Mayor has presented is also camouflaged in various ways, and there's a departing point. One, you get individuals who are part of project steering committees, who are elected by some members of the community or beneficiaries of the project. Now they camouflage themselves or they become part of the project steering committees. And then what Mayor has indicated, then because they understand and they're part of the project, they then issue out details and make sure that there's some delays, and also they want some to extort from the contractors. Some of them, it's business forums. They camouflage themselves as business forums. They go to the various contractors asking for the 30% that is allowed for. And as you would know that in some part of the country where we have, for an example, in KZN, we have Amadelok Bono, who come to a site of which we have not experienced to that level in the city, where the people come to site as if they are subcontractors or business forums demanding the 30% that is stipulated to benefit the locals within the project. And then you'll realize that those people don't have even the documentation of an established business, but they then demand that 30% portion of the project, and that's how they are camouflaged when they come to our sites. The next site, having said that, the next site is Bella in Pentec, and those are individuals who unlawfully occupied the houses that were completed, and it was 9 of them. But since last December, one of those individuals have left the site willingly, and the rest of them, which is the balance of the 8, have not left those sites. We are continuing with eviction in court to seek some relief so that we can be able to get those houses back and give beneficiaries that were earmarked for those projects. But what we did in December was to make sure that those beneficiaries who were in the immediate line to receive those houses. In December, we made sure that they get those houses whilst we're going to continue, because they're still blocking some of the beneficiaries to get their opportunities. The third one in Region 1 is Morning Star. It's in Durbanville. We had a challenge there where a forum, which in some instance it camouflaged as a PSC, that stopped the project, and we had to go for litigation and got some relief from the courts, and we had to settle the matter. But I can safely say now we have managed to get all the beneficiaries that were earmarked for that particular project to occupy those units. It's in the CBD of Durbanville. Valhalla Park is one of the projects that I think for many years has been stopped because of gangsterism and business forums and so on and so forth. And through that process, and it was also before my time, then there was a finalization that there were to be, I think, about 7 contractors. Ray would correct me if I'm wrong, about 7 contractors that were then appointed to kickstart that particular project, and that project has kickstarted. Now we have just went over the 100 mark. It's not an easy project because some of the contractors that were appointed have withdrawn from that particular site because of hostility in that particular site, have withdrawn and do not want, as the executive mayor has indicated, that because of people feel threatened or for the safety of their employees, they then withdraw from a site. So that's what we have seen. But there's some construction now that is ongoing, but not at the pace at which we want because of some of the challenges that have indicated. So we are trying our level best to make sure that the beneficiaries, because that will give us a yield of more than 780 structures, and it means that there are 700 plus people who have been waiting, who have been sitting on our database waiting for their housing opportunities, and that can't simply be achieved, and not because of lack of budget or lack of anything else, but because of the challenges of extortions and other issues that are happening around, and serious threats that are happening on site. If I can go to what we have tagged as Region 2, that has been in Badale, Phase 4, which is the rehabilitation of the project. As I've indicated, that it's those business forums who make demands through projecting themselves as subcontractors for various reasons, and 67 of those. Of those units, 67 of those units were affected, but because the threats of invasions have continued, and on that particular project we have had some halt at some point. So, but we want to be in a position of resuscitating that project. In rest of it's in Strand, it's a project in Strand. where there was also a delay because of what is called PSC and some business forums. We had to and fro's around that. It's been almost 3 years now. But the great thing about it to date is that we have finalized the appointment of a civil contractor that will be starting in that particular project next month. We, on the 2nd of this on February, which is next week, we will be finalizing the appeals period, which is permitted based on our supply chain process. So from that onwards, we'll finalize the MOU and the contracts between ourselves as a city and that of the contractor, and then be able to have that contract going. We're hoping that we will not have any stoppages. But as the executive mayor has indicated, there are some of these challenges, and we have to provide some extra security because it's the vulnerable and the poorest of the poor that are not in a position now to access those housing opportunities. So we want, as council yesterday, there's been an approval of about 15 million rands through our adjustment budget yesterday to enable us to find a way of protecting these sites. But as the executive mayor has indicated, it's not enough. It's not enough funds for us to have this comprehensive security on these sites. So it would be best to look at various options, and that I think Dr. Roberts will speak on it when the time comes in terms of how that process is envisaged within the safety and security. But I must say, whilst at this point we emphasize the point that has been raised before, that I think South African Police Service is going to play a pivotal role in us getting stability within our sites and all our projects, and making sure that those individuals who are whistleblowers are also protected. In St. Lawrence Pass, we had an organization, Sanko, who came to site who tried to stop our project, but we have managed to deal with that situation thus far, and civil works are completed. We are doing top structures now in that particular project. We're hoping by end of this year we would have now started handing over some of those units to qualifying beneficiaries. And also Beacon Valley, which is the biggest setback for us as a city, because we had 2 contractors that were appointed by the city to do civil works on the project, whilst they were still busy with earthworks, and there were serious threats, and there were people that lost, individuals who lost their lives through being, they were being shot on site, and as the 2 contractors had to withdraw from that particular site, and we had to go through a process of supply chain, of going again on tendering process, a process now that we have concluded. But on that particular site, now we have, because of the hostility and the gangsterism that has infested that particular site, we had to go back to MACO as human settlement through the executive mayor to seek some assistance to be able to safeguard this particular site, because people of Mitchells Plain have been waiting for their housing opportunities for many years. And this is one of their projects that they want to see coming to fruition. So the part of the 15 million rands that has been adjusted, has been part of the adjustment budget from yesterday, we will see it coming to the fore, trying to get our tactical security personnel, which is coming outside the city. But as the executive mayor has indicated, that it's not sustainable to have those the tactical response, because they are very costly for us to retain them on various sites. And we have agreed as human settlements now to have that site in phases. It's 3 sites, and with a budget of just over 230 million rands, we're just going to phase it in and start with the smaller block and make sure that by that we are able to protect at least one of the precincts. That's we're going to be doing civil works on that particular site. Contractors were just waiting for us to make budget available. So the administration now will kickstart a process of having that engagement with the contractors and see how best we can deal with this particular one. So we're hoping, as you can see, the yield of this particular project is 1,800. So that it means, plus it means that there are 1,800 people who are sitting at backyarders, who have been long waiting for their housing opportunities, and they can't get them to date because of the challenges that we are dealing with. Guguletu infill, it's in Guguletu. It's part of the Mau Mau, and those who have walked through that corridor would have seen that that particular project is not yet complete. In Mau Mau, it's some of the units are not yet complete. They've been built, but incomplete. There are various issues. There are two issues that have delayed us, Chair, on that particular one. One were the forums, but the second one was the incompetence of the contractors that we received, that were not able to complete those projects. Some of them did not have funds. So, but now we have learned from that. We're making sure that we're getting contractors who have the capability and are able to deliver on this project speedily. And whilst on that, we have also completed a panel of those contractors. I think it's about 34 to 36 contractors that we have appointed now in December. And that list includes contractors that have good history in construction and who have good capabilities in completing this project. So we're hoping that we'll get those and complete those projects. Also, similarly with Guguletu infill project, which is 8448, and both of these these projects, the contractors, we had sourced them from the Provincial Human Settlements panel. But now, because we have our own panel, we'll be in a position to to replace them with our own contractors through our own process. Manningberg PHP, there was a delay on that particular one as well, and of which at least that project now to date it's done, and we have handed over those units to the qualifying beneficiaries. So there was 8 weeks delay or 2 months in that instance, but we have been able to deal with that. Sheffield Road. Similarly, we had your business forums or local businesses who made threats, and there were delays also in that particular project. But I can safely say to date, we have a contractor that is on site that is doing civil works. So we are making good progress on that part. And I think perhaps I would just want to give through you, Chair, perhaps if Director Roberts, Mayor, can make some inputs at this particular point. Thanks, Mayor.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to all the role players. Chair, from the city side, I'm representing under Director for Operational and Coordination. And within the city, we are coordinating all the incidents that are reported in terms of extortion with regarding to these particular sites to my office. We've got a Safety and Security Information Management Service that are responsible to look at all these incidents, to analyze these incidents, and to determine who's the culprits with regarding to the extortion. We are also directly then also be in touch with the South African Police Services in order to deal with this particular issue. One major problem that we are experiencing currently with the contractors is that they are not willingly to report a case at the police station. And what the Safety and Security then did from our side is to relocate this information to our Special Investigation Unit within the city. The Special Investigation Unit will then address the complainant and get more information from the complainant, the contractor in this case, and maybe ask the reason why the contractor don't want to report this case to the South African police. What we then do from our side is then to get all that information, and then the investigating officer will then submit a statement under oath with all that information to the South African Police Services in registering an inquiry at the police station. Up until now, we registered, and it is not with regarding to housing contracts. We've got currently 5 inquiries with the South African Police registered, and we are following up that information. But it is not the only problem in the housing environment. We've got also that with regarding to official businesses, contract sites, with regarding to transport, the extortion of the taxis at the moment. And currently we registered a total of 67 inquiries with the South African Police covering transport, informal trading, formal businesses, as well as construction sites. We then also have watching briefs in place in order to see what sort of movement are there in terms of these inquiries with the police, and to see if we can get a case before the MPA or the DPP in order to prove extortion with regarding to these suspects. With regarding to the task team, I can just indicate to you, Chair, that previously there was a huge problem identified within the Metropole and within the Western Cape, where Minister Chele called an urgent meeting with all the role players from the South African Police, the Hawks, the DPP, the City of Cape Town, and where then an instruction went out for a special task team, a high-level task team that should exist out of all the components with regarding to the extortion. We set up a meeting with the South African Police in order to get this particular task team off the ground, and a follow-up meeting was again set up with the police, where they first requested the mandate from the SSIU as well as the SIMS in terms of our legal mandate to investigate and to gather information. Those documentations were presented to the South African Police, and there's now a meeting set up for the 30th of January with General Jojo from Legal Services to see how the city can form part of this particular task team. I think there's an urgent need for such a task team due to the fact that extortion is not only focused towards construction sites, but we've got major problems within the transport environment currently, as well as in the business sector. And most of those complaints are then directed to the City of Cape Town in order for us to attend to it and to address it. What we are also doing from our side is internally, we set up a coordinating war room meeting on a Tuesday and a Thursday on a weekly basis, where we are coordinating all these particular information and all these problematic sites. And as indicated by Councillor Boy, it is really a resource-driven because at every site you've got the threat of protest actions. You need to redeploy all your normal services with regarding to Metro Police, traffic and law enforcement that are supposed to execute their normal mandate to these sites to deal with protest actions, to deal with the issue of protection of the contractors, and to put an operational plan with regarding to deployment in place. What we are currently in the process of doing is to appoint a total of nearly 100 facility protection officers to protect the assets of the city and protect the sites of the city, the housing sites, in order to deal and to ensure that we can allow the contractors to continue with the work, and we are coordinating it as well. But as I indicated to you, it's resource driven. We are hopping from the one side to the other side on a daily basis, and it should be an integrated approach that is coordinated by a provincial task team. The other issue that we are also find is that as soon as the site's been ready and been serviced, you are getting a magnitude of land invasions at these particular sites. And whenever the site is invaded, you need to follow a court process that causing a lot of delays with regarding to these particular sites. And again, we need to spend a lot of money on overtime to protect these sites during business hours as well as after hours. So from our side, from safety and security, and with all the other directorates, we are really putting a lot of effort and a lot of budget in place to deal with these particular issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, can I request that we take the presentations and then after we'll do the questions, or you would prefer to ask as and when after the presentation? Yeah, to first option or second? First. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And the city, I think you're going to sit because the questions are going to come later, so bear with us a little bit. I'm going to request that Minister Regan Allen, it's over to you, sir. It's your department.
Voorzitter, baie dankie, Chairperson, thank you. Let me say from the outset that we would never want our beautiful province to become and see the levels of extortion that we have seen in KZN. We have seen, Chairperson, that whenever organized crime is developing over a number of years, everyone that is seated here, Chairperson, we need to always be 2 steps ahead of gangsterism, of extortion in organized crime, because we want to dismantle it from outside. And in terms of our particular role, and I trust that our presentation will be flighted, we are wanting to make sure that we are able to dismantle organized crime. It is leading to communities and the fabric of our communities being destroyed. So we do play a key role, and we understand, colleagues, I'm not trying to give you a lesson. The one matter is that when we look at the priority crimes, extortion is a priority crime. And if we consider, and the SAPS will probably also touch on this, is that we have seen crime generators, and extortion is also a crime generator. Chairperson, we have seen some arrests in extortion cases, and those arrests should be commended, because we would want to send strong messages that it will not be tolerated. In other cases, we are still needing the help and assistance from community members. Hence, I'm so delighted to see that we have community members. Also, the city indicated that Manenberg was part of a site that was also affected. So weer eens baie dankie dat julle hier is. So in that way, we want to dismantle organized crime. It is fueling gangsterism. If we look at it across kidnapping, extortion, the businesses, abalone poaching, directly leading to our province not being as safe as we all would have wanted it. So like I've said, we have crime generators, and one of those crime generators are extortion. We also have priority crimes, and extortion is one. So it is not being taken lightly. It is a matter that is on our radar, that we know in a collaborative approach we need to address it. The mayor earlier spoke about the kidnapping, and we have seen the one arrest. And I think the colleagues will also be aware that it was an integrated approach between various law enforcement agencies together with the South African Police Service that led to an 8-year-old being returned safely home. But we obviously know that we need to see more of those successes. So, Chairperson, while SAPS leads the strategy in dealing with the alleged extortion in housing projects within the province, in my current capacity, we are leading the Western Cape Safety Plan, which is a whole-of-government approach, where we know there's law enforcement, but also the violence prevention. But part of that It's continuously ensuring that we are collaborating with all safety stakeholders, that as a department we are stepping up, we are putting additional funding when we consider funding towards the LEAP program. We are continuously to see how we are stepping up in that regard. So the Western Cape Safety Plan, like I've said, is a two-pronged approach. Violence prevention, because we know that is key. We wouldn't want some of our younger boys in Manenberg to see what others are doing. And then they would also want to go to a spaza shop and tax someone. We wouldn't want that to happen. So that is key from our side. The department, together with the South African Police Service chairperson, chairs the Anti-Gang Priority Committee, and the provincial response to the National Anti-Gang Strategy is being implemented. Colleagues, gangsterism has been here for decades. And it is extremely unacceptable that we are continuously seeing that on the one hand, action is being taken. And my strong point always is that we are needing to get more of our community structures involved. We need to make sure that we are ultimately doing everything from a two-pronged approach and not just a one angle, because we do know that is so important. The department funds via a payment transfer agreement with the City of Cape Town, like I've indicated, where we place these additional boots on the ground in order to see that crime is being reduced. We have also, together with the South African Police Service and the NPA, implemented a firearms reduction strategy. We have seen with these extortion cases that when even imitation firearms are used at times to extort or to threaten or to give a warning to a contractor or to a spaza shop or to a taxi association or to a taxi driver in order to extort them. And I wouldn't want colleagues to miss this one thing. We are needing to stop this extortion because it is fueling gangsterism. The money and the funding that they are extorting is fueling other criminal activities. And that is what we are working hard towards. So the joint operations that takes place between the South African Police Service and the LEAP officers at station level in our priority areas, and if colleagues are aware of those priority areas, you would have seen it directly correlates with those sites that were attacked. So it's based on data, it is based on our approach on where these LEAP officers are needed in order for them to curb this particular pandemic. It's a difficulty on the one hand that we need to get rid of it. A bi-weekly LEAP operational steercom meeting is also chaired by the department because we are playing that active role in that particular regard, but also as the only province that have implemented the court watching brief units, we've been very clear that when there's inefficiencies picked up in the process with regard to the South African Police Service chairperson, or with the NPA and the prosecutors. We have those engagements because we monitor those cases so that it can even be re-enrolled should the ball be dropping, should the investigation not be concluded to the satisfaction of the courts, because we would want justice to be served in that regard. I am going to hand over to our HOD, who will take through the next two slides. We are looking forward to the engagement, Chairperson, because we firmly believe that it's between the community, the inputs, the committee being held accountable, because we are all needing to play our effective role, but making sure that we hold each other duly accountable as well, that we can ultimately see that these operators that are trying to extort businesses, trying to extort construction developers in any form, that they are ultimately landing up behind bars. That is what we are wanting to ultimately see, and we are looking forward to the engagement and the questions, the interrogation. Maar weer eens, baie dankie, Chairperson. This is again a clear example that when even these stakeholders that are sitting here can be in front of human settlements, because we are seeing it is linked. It is not only what is happening in community safety, but there's crime elements happening across our province, and we will continue to do everything in our power together with community and stakeholders.
Thank you, Minister. Just to continue in terms of some of the support that we provide to the Department of Human Settlements and other departments within the Western Cape government. is that our Department of Community Safety chairs the Safety and Security Managers Forum, where transversal issues of safety and security are discussed, and we provide advisory services to support, in particular, the Department of Human Settlements as it relates to security and threat risk assessments in relation to land invasion, as well as, for example, we assisted with the Drift Sands Nature Reserve as well, but we would provide security and risk assessments as it relates to other issues as well. And then the provision of security advice in general, investigation of security breaches, and then the development of documents, guiding documents, policies and frameworks like our Western Cape Government Security Policy Framework that has been adopted and implemented by all Western Cape Government departments. We also have a memorandum of understanding between the Department of Human Settlements as well as the Department of Community Safety as it relates to safety and security advice as well. Just further in terms of our role, there are regular meetings that take place on a monthly basis and ad hoc basis as well between the Minister Allen as well as the Provincial Commissioner and the top management of the SAPS, where issues are discussed as well as including extortion matters. Regular meetings also take place between the Minister, ourselves, the city on all levels, and we have seen that SAPS and the city have been working together on an operational level as well when matters or incidents of extortion and kidnapping are reported. The department is also a member of the Extortion Priority Committee, and that committee is made up of, amongst others, the NPA, the SAPS, the City of Cape Town, etc. Matters brought to our attention of extortion, and it has happened in the past, other Western Cape government departments, other organizations are immediately reported to the PC and the team, and we have in the past played a role in ensuring that should matters arise, that we create a confidential space for the complainants to engage with the SAPS in terms of the matters so that they can be investigated fully, and we have facilitated those engagements with Major General Teo and the team as well. We also briefed the Consular Corps late last year, and we developed an information leaflet that can be circulated to support the foreign nationals visiting the province, but then also for our local residents as well to be protected and also to know what steps that need to be followed if there are incidents of this nature. We have also facilitated, together with the State Security Agency, threat risk assessments when required. And then our oversight mandate includes the monitoring of cases by the SAPS and bringing any inefficiencies of the police to the attention of the PC and the team. And we then get a follow-up report in relation to the action that has been taken by the SAPS, which could include, for example, disciplinary action against members as well. On all relevant platforms, we've always encouraged victims. I know at times it is difficult in terms of victims coming forward to report any incidents to the SAPS, but that is the only way in which matters can be investigated, prosecuted and perpetrators convicted, which will act as a deterrent to other perpetrators as well. Going forward, Minister Allen will be chairing a meeting which would be made up of the National Prosecuting Authority, the SAPS, the DPCI, as well as the Department of Correctional Services, where we want to foster good working relations, but also to improve on service delivery in the province. Just in terms of the next slide, and you can move over to the last, it was the information note that we prepared for the Consular Corps that we have circulated, which provides guidelines in terms of how you need to act should you be faced with incidents of extortion, or if you are victims of extortion. And there is also, you can move to the next slide, also a toll-free number that is manned by the SAPS that we're encouraging members of the public to utilize as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And members, that was the presentation from the Department of the Community Safety. So now we are going to take the Department of Human Settlements, the Provincial Department of Human Settlements and Infrastructure. Over to you, Minister Simmons.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, to you and the members of the committee, the City of Cape Town Mayor, my colleague MMC Boy, my colleague Minister Regan Allen and his HOD and his team, but also SAPS and members of the community present here. First and foremost, apologies, Madam Chair. I would like to wish you all well for 2023, and you are kickstarting the year off where actually we ended it last year, which focuses on a very concerning matter to myself and the department, but also to our cabinet as a whole. And I also hope to see you exercise once again your oversight role over me as the executive authority and what will be the Department of Infrastructure. Madam Chair, the topic we are addressing today is in response to my written response to you on the 2nd of December. But since then, up until the end of December, the number of beneficiaries that have actually been affected now by extortion since 2018 has ballooned to 21,624. Now that is the size of a complete waiting list of one non-metro municipality over the last 4 years. In my response, the 25 top projects affected I've listed to you. 80% of those projects are within the City of Cape Town, and 20% of those projects are spread out between 5 non-metro municipalities. But of the 21,624 beneficiaries affected, 96.8% of them are from the City of Cape Town. So this is a massive, massive problem. But over the last few years, we've become so accustomed to using the word construction mafia. But the true implications I've just given to you in hard data as received from my department. But these extortionists and the acts of extortion has become a burdensome impact on our budget. A budget which is meant to ultimately benefit the poorest of the poor and all other forms of programs in human settlements. And the cost is also ballooning out of control, Madam Chair. There's only so much that as a department we can reprioritize in our budget. Our core mandate is not safety, but we do need to ensure the safety of our projects to ensure that our beneficiaries ultimately get their housing opportunity. But, Honourable Chair, and I'm happy that we have community members here. I have pleaded since last year that since the inception of COVID-19, we have seen the rate and the scale of extortion across the province increasing, more so in key project sites across the City of Cape Town. In one instance, Forest Village, we actually need to get a court interdict to prevent them from actually setting foot on our site again. Now, at least there we could act timeously because the community played their part. But some of the other projects which you will see in our presentation, the community sadly did not play their part. Instead, the community played an active part in forming part of that invasion and extortion of that specific site. And I do understand that SAPs are under-resourced in the Western Cape. Hence, I support my colleague, Minister Regan Allen, and the Cabinet in asking for the devolution of policing powers to the Western Cape, so that we can actually prioritise the police resources to be effectively and efficiently, and possibly, as I conveyed to our National Minister of Human Settlements, see the formation with SAPs of a prioritised crime unit that actually deals with extortion to assist us, because this is becoming an ever-growing problem every year. But we've also engaged SAPs within the Western Cape, within their limited resources which they do have, to also play a more proactive role in supporting us when we inform them of these extortion cases or also possible invasions, because as much as we are focusing on one aspect of extortion, Madam Chair, another form that we have seen in human settlements is where sites are invaded, it's organised, people arrive in taxis, you can see there's an organised structure behind this, these people move into these units, then they have to pay a rent to whoever is the main organizer of that invasion attempt. So there's various forms of extortions which we ultimately have to deal with. But the violence aspect of the extortion is now worrisome to me as a minister. In December, as you are aware, in one of our sites in the City of Cape Town, 4 security officers were shot, 2 were fatally wounded. The community can't even tell us who did it. They are too afraid to actually open a case. So we are afraid of the scale of this extortion as well. But given certain patterns that I've learned through Minister Regan Allen in terms of turf wars, We are noting as the Department of Human Settlements a close linkage between gang turf war and extortionists and the areas they operate in. So it's clearly a syndicated approach and well structured. But once again, Madam Chair, I'm grateful that we are here today to answer your questions, and I'm happy the communities are here, because many a times they are saying, what is government doing? What is the city doing? And I can tell you we are doing a hell of a lot. But now we are calling on you as the community to step up with us, to be fearless like we need to be fearless. We want to serve you. We want to execute our mandate as human settlements. But it's only possible if you, the missing link, work a lot closer with us. Thank you very much. The department.
Thank you very much. HOD?
Morning, Chairperson. Without further delay, I'm going to ask Benjamin Nkosi, the Acting Chief Director for Implementation, to expand on some of the detail, but essentially we're reporting on the beneficiaries affected and the housing developments halted from a timeline of 2018 to December 2022. And there are 5 cases reported at SAPS, all in the airport infills area in Loyolo and Tambo Village. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Mr. Nkosi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister HOD. Similarly to what the city has presented, we find ourselves having to deal with a different manifestation of your extortions. It will come, one, as an activity that prevents you from doing whatever you do because people will be looking for whatever they're looking. But when you look at it, then it translates into other forms of challenges, land invasion and related matters. The presentation indicates or seeks to respond to what we were requested to speak to in terms of beneficiaries which were affected, as we indicated the numbers, and Minister has amplified that figure. We are at that point where Minister showed that our figures have increased to the 21,624, which comes in various forms and from various projects. But I'm not going to be able to take all projects one by one just to indicate the magnitude of the exercise. What I want to amplify, Chairperson, if you may allow us, is if we can go on the next slide, past the next slide. If you look at that particular project, your Loyolo project, airport and field, 5 incidences in that project has happened, where you had, in the same project, you had incidents of shooting, you had people who come differently to come and request for other things. So you find a situation where a project is targeted for whatever it has been targeted, but then the incidences takes a different shape. At some point, you'll even realize that the property gets banned because people demand whatever they're demanding, and if you're not responding to that, it becomes an issue. So those are the kind of issues that we faced with. The matter has been raised with the SAPS. We have reported that there are case numbers in that, so we're following up on those issues. But to date, there hasn't been really arrest made, given that you sit with that particular kind of a challenge. The net effect of these particular exercises is that you find the department having to pay costs, or your cost of security get increased because if you want to protect the properties there, it means you need to beef up your security. And that has resulted in exorbitant fees that we need to pay to a tune of 1.5 million that we need to pay over month security. And that's money that should have been directed to providing opportunities, housing opportunities to the citizenry. Those are the kind of challenges that the extortion then leads up to. And again, you find a situation where, because contractors are no longer feeling safe, they would want to withdraw from the project. And as you still deal with those kind of issues, then you have to pay claims that goes with it, and it becomes an exercise that it's so expensive to deal with. Now, in order for us to be actively involved in ensuring that we deal with these issues, given the kind of strategies that have been presented here, we also see ourselves as a participant or active participant in those strategies that we need to deal with. Those are the issues that we we are beset with as a department to say how do we go forward in terms of dealing with that. We understand that there are formations which are in place to assist in dipping up the problem, and that's where we are saying as a department we also become an active participant of trying to put or give some efforts in ensuring that we resolve these issues. That's where we are, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nkosi. I am now going to allow the South African Police Services to talk to us. We didn't get any presentation, so it's a little bit difficult for me to know who's going to address the query. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our presentation will be done by our Provincial Head of Organised Crime, Brigadier Mkabile. Please, thank you.
Good morning, Chair.
Thank you very much. Before you continue, do you have maybe a stick or?
No. It's provided, ma'am. I just provided before I came in here. Yes, that is the one. Thank you very much. Can we just get it on? Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry for that inconvenience.
Yeah, if we can, because we don't have the copy, the hard copy, if you can bear with us just for a few seconds to load it so that you can. There we go. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everybody. I am Brigadier Mkabile, the Provincial Head Organised Crime in the Western Cape. The presentation, ma'am, I'm just going to speak to it, and then it's provided. People can go through it. And if we go to that page, that is the briefing session to the Standing Committee, that just is just the introduction. And then I'd like us to go to slide number 2 to start there. That will be the table of contents. The previous slide. Previous slide, thanks, ma'am. Yes. Yeah, it should be before. I've got the presentation here. It should start with the table of contents first, and then we'll go to the others. I don't know, the background and all that. Okay, but let me speak to this. The table of contents, we do have a background on this presentation. We will also have the definition, the related crimes, the strategy that is utilized by SAPS, the breakdown of reported cases, the case flow management, and then on the last slide, we'll have our challenges. We may go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, this is the background. I'm not just going to read each and every line of it, but this presentation is just intended to brief the Standing Committee on Human Settlement on Extortion and related cases in the construction sector. On the 18th of January this year, our Provincial Commissioner of Western Cape received the invitation from the committee to provide an overview on these matters. And then what we'd like to bring across this meeting is the cognizance needs to be taken on the number of realities and initiatives within this sector. The first one that we picked up is that there has been an increase in confirmed and unconfirmed reports of extortion-related crime in the housing construction sector. The Presidency of the Republic of South Africa has directed the national establishment of essential infrastructure task teams, of which the Western Cape has 2 teams established, one in the city of Cape Town and then the second one in the Winelands district. The task teams are multidisciplinary of nature and they function in conjunction with our crime intelligence, the detective services, the visible policing, the National Prosecuting Authority, Department of Home Affairs, the districts, and other ad hoc role players as the need arises. And then the definition, I'm not going to bore the meeting with that, but it's just we felt it's wise that we just have to remind everybody that this is the unlawful and intentional taking from another, some patrimonial and non-patrimonial advantage by intentionally and unlawfully subjecting that person to pressure, which induces him or her to submit to the taking. We just said, let us just include it in our presentation. The related crimes, as this extortion is manifesting itself in various forms. We had murder or attempted murder cases, robbery, public violence, housebreaking and theft, intimidation, malicious damage to property, the assault common, assault with intent to commit grievous bodily harm, and of course, the last not least, the kidnappings. The strategy that the Western Cape South African Police Services has developed, that there are a number of operational approaches adopted to mitigate this threat: the intelligence-led operations, the identification and arrest of perpetrators, the procedural guided investigation, the opposing of bail in extortion-related matters where the perpetrators has been arrested, the bi-weekly meetings of the Extortion Priority Committee, the establishment of a 24-hour provincial extortion hotline for reporting and also for the tip-offs. We do have that number there, the 0800 314444, and this is an extortion hotline that is meant 24 hours for this purpose. The dedicated Tactical Joint Operational Center, which we call it TACJOC in short, for immediate deployment in response to incidents. And the following slide, Chairperson, will speak to the breakdown of reported cases. We had cases that there are cases that are reported within SAPS, and then for the last 5 years, we've got 14 cases. One will hear that there is a huge outcry out there about the extortion cases, but when you look into the cases that are reported, it's very huge. But it has already been alluded here by the previous speakers that reporting is very low. We will also get into the reasons why the reporting is very low. But for the last 5 years, we had 14 cases that were reported, and then the total cases reported to the SAPS in the City of Cape Town districts for the financial year 2021-2022, it's only 5. The total cases in the City of Cape Town which ended up in prosecution, there's only 2 out of that 5. Then the total suspects arrested is 6. And if we move to the next slide, and then here we are starting now to show case by case of the cases that we have. I said we've got 14. The cases reported in City of Cape Town district, the Nemire housing project, which is in the Cleanflay jurisdiction. There is a case number that we have, the case 195 of 11/2021. The case that is reported there, you will see that I had various crime categories that I've mentioned previously. This is murder. This murder was an attack on a security guard, but fortunately we had 2 people that were arrested on this matter. That matter is running in court. I'm not going to go to the brief description of that. We proceed to the other slide. The case is reported in the City of Cape Town district. That is still the City of Cape Town. The School of Skills, Western Cape Education Department, that is in Manenberg. Manenberg case 93 of 9/2022, extortion. In this matter is still under investigation. We have not yet arrested anybody, but as it was already alluded there, we find challenges when it comes now to witnesses availing themselves or providing the police with information, but we are still pursuing that matter. We also got 3 cases that were reported in Monroe's Park housing project, which is in the Lenteghe district. The first one being case 147 of 7/2021, which is attempted murder. Again, it was the attack on security guards. We have nobody that was arrested there. This matter was closed as undetected. When the matter is closed as undetected, I feel I have to explain it, that whenever there is information coming forward, that matter is reopened and then we carry on with the investigation. We also got Lenteghe case 499 of 11/2020, also attempted murder, also attack on security guards. That matter is also closed as undetected. As I also stated that whenever there is new information coming or there's witnesses now providing us with information, the matter can be reopened and then we'll carry on with the investigation. Lendegia case 505 of 11/2020 is again attempted murder. As well, it was closed as undetected. All those three. Then, if we move to the next slide, is cases report the Missions Plain CSV construction. This is now Missions Plain case 523 of 5/2022. It's a business robbery. There was one person that was reported there. This matter is running in court. I'm not going to dwell much on that one, that are court running. Then we also had a case in Atlantis, the Vetsand housing project. Atlantis case 470 of 5/2020. The crime that was committed there, burglary business, where tools were stolen. That matter is also undetected. Okay. Then Belleville South, case 13 of 8/2021. There it's murder. It was also attack on security guards. That matter is still under investigation. No one is arrested yet. We had Bishop Levy's case 180 of 8/2020, which is also extortion. This matter is also, this matter is undetected, but that was now the case that took place at KFC in Bishop Levy's there. Okay. We had Delft case 150 of 6/2020, which is an attempted murder, again attack on security guard. That matter is also closed as undetected, as we are saying that once we get new information or there's witnesses that are coming up with information, definitely we'll reopen the docket and carry on with the investigation. Durbanville, that is now the Goedemoed and Eitzeg housing project. Durbanville case 329 of 11/2021, that was a murder, attack on security guard. That matter is still under investigation. We still have not yet arrested any person with regard to that. We've got two cases that were reported from Kukuletu, and is that Luyolo housing project. We've got Kukuletu case 268 of 3/2022, which is an attempted murder, which was the attack on a construction surveyor. You see, that matter was also closed as undetected. However, with the new information and with witnesses volunteering themselves, we'll definitely also pursue this matter. We also got Guguletu case 180 of 11/2022, which is also attempted murder, attack on security guard. This matter is still under investigation. I think that is the matter that was also mentioned here by one of the previous speakers, where 4 security guards were shot at and sustained gun wounds, but that matter is still under investigation. We've got also, that is now outside the city of Cape Town or the district of Cape Town, the Friedendal case 262 of 8/2022. It was a public violence. There were also 3 people there arrested with regard to this matter, and that matter is court running. That is the Polar Park housing project in Friedendal. As one speaker already said, now the 80% is in the city, and then we found out 20% is outside there. Then we can also see on the reported cases that the SAPS is pursuing. Then the challenges that we are facing with, or the SAPS is facing, is now the fear of reporting by victims. That's one thing. That's why we've got a low number, although the threat is high. The witness is not willing to provide affidavits, that is statements, so that we can be able now to take the matters to court. Witness is not willing to participate in the identification parades. Unwillingness of witnesses to enter into witness protection program. So those are the challenges that this South African Police Service in the Western Cape is faced with. That's why we find out some of the cases, we'll park them there. We close them as undetected, but as soon as we get some information, we'll really reopen and pursue the matters. That will be all for now, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that was the last presentation from all that we invited, honorable members. I am now going to open for the questions. And I see Member Seleko. You'll be the first.
Be the first. No, thank you very much, Chair. One would want to appreciate the work that went into the preparation of presentations. And also what is my observation in terms of the presentation is that all presentation cut across and they're talking about the same thing. And my questions will basically want to seek some clarity and in terms of action. And I would start with the last presentation and also echo what Minister of the Infrastructure has been saying about the devolution of powers in terms of SAPS and the undercapacitated of SAPS within the province. And then if you go to the slide in terms of the kind of crimes that the SAPS has to concentrate on, maybe I was not watching, but extortion was not even mentioned as one of the crimes one has to look at. Then what my question would be, in terms of the interaction between the different role players that had presentations to us as a committee, how often do they meet to deal with matters of cases that has been reported to them? Because why do I ask that? It is very demoralizing for a case to see a slide that says case undetected, and there was an effort done to report this particular case. And one would want to know also, what is one of the contributors to the people for not coming to the front in terms of reporting cases on the ground? Could one say is because the lack of convictions? Because this is not the only thing happening here. One would find that within our country, there's a lot of cases that are reported to the different law enforcement agencies. But when one looks at the rate of convictions, we don't see any movement in that regard. And then one would come to a conclusion that says, people have given up hope in terms of our law enforcement agencies, in the judiciary. That's why instead of standing up, or they would say, no, let it be because nothing's going to happen to them. One would just want to know in terms of the interactions amongst themselves on cases reported, how often do they meet? Because one would not want, when they come to us, there's contradiction in terms of cases. And then they would say a case in City of Cape Town, and then a member of the City of Cape Town would be in shock. Oh, that case has been closed. I was not even aware of it. It's just one. And Chair, the second one is that I come from the rural areas, and what one has seen, especially when it comes to gangsterism, is that when the city, because all these things starts here in the city, and the city will get capacity in terms of the LEAP officers, and then they will block that space for these activities. And then after that, they go to Saloris Pass and they go to Grabong. So what kind of plans are in place to make sure what is happening here does not go to our rural areas, or we close that tap? When we close here and then it's closed, it does not go to Grabong or in Waterkloof. Just want to know what plans are in place in terms of that, and what is the interaction in terms of what we are trying to do here in the city in terms of extortion with the relevant regions within our province to make sure these issues are curbed, and are nipped in the bud. And this one is to all departments, Chase, that what would, MMC boys say, for instance, I am a beneficiary of a housing opportunity, Madam Chair, and and then the project gets approved, funding is allocated, then the beneficiaries are identified, the contractor is on site, and then they start building these contractors. I'm waiting, but why would people not fight to secure their housing opportunities? Why is there a lack of appetite for beneficiaries to stand up when their projects and their opportunities, are being taken away by criminal elements? Because someone was saying that instead of standing up, they would also support, this drive. What would be the cause for such, for us to say, I'm not going to fight for my opportunity, even though I'm approved as a beneficiary. Instead, I would just, contribute to these criminal elements. And there is a lot of linkages in terms of in terms of procurement policies, the 30% of local businesses, that some of them are actually contributing to this extortion. Then one would want to ask, like, what has been the engagements, with these businesses that is perceived as being some of the people that are actually contributing to lawlessness within our communities? What has been the arrangement, or what has been the engagement, just to get an understanding as to why would they, engage in illegal activities as legitimate business people? Why would they go to that extreme? What is it that is it? And also, the issue of PSCs, Minister Summers, it's a problem, especially in rural areas. I don't know, because I don't want us to address the symptoms here and forget about the cause. Because if our criteria when it comes to the selection of PSC members is not right, it's not right, we are going to establish task teams and task teams and task teams over and over again. So I think one issue what needs to look at is that the people that we appoint to assist us as a department to make sure that we deliver in terms of our mandate are people with credibility, are people that are going to put the needs of the communities first, instead of using these opportunities, to get something out of it. And one would want to know, how does one actually make sure that whoever is serving on the PSC is not because it's not someone that is going to be a problem in terms of the movement of these particular programs. That's just my few contribution. Thank you very much.
That was really a mouthful. Members, I am going to hold it for now because I think member registered some few questions. So let me allow the questions directed to different departments and the subs to respond. And then after that, I will take from another member. Also, members online, if you do have a question, just raise your hand for me to acknowledge you. And for now, I'm not seeing anyone. Who's going to be first, City? Okay, Member August, I will acknowledge you when is your time. It's just to make you aware that I recognize you, but don't say anything for now until I call your name again.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the member. I'll just respond to the questions that relate to the city. I think we are exploring the issue of having beneficiaries protecting their projects, and the manner in which we are doing now is to upfront have the list of beneficiaries, because when people know that it's their opportunities, they act differently, and also that they're going to benefit in that particular project. But in certain instances, it's very tricky, and perhaps subs, when they respond, perhaps they would get into more detail. But you'll find that people who are doing these exertions, as I was indicating, that they are camouflaged as if they are business forums, PSCs, etc. It's children of the very same people who are beneficiaries. There is no one who comes out from Delft and go and do extortion in Khayelitsha, for an example. It's people who are growing up in that very same community. So, and it makes it now more difficult because people are threatened by one of their own. And they know that if they go and report tomorrow or in that evening, something will happen to them. So it becomes a bit difficult, but in some areas, because where there's less of those instances, we get communities to protect not only their houses, but also trying to advocate for them to protect the land parcel at which the development is going to be done in the future. Look, the issue of the policy of the 30%, I understand where it came from, was to uplift, to leave some skills within that particular community. But it's a policy that needs to be reviewed. Because, as you correctly put it, it has led to us now being exposed to these individuals who utilize a written policy to do these extortions. Hence I was saying they come as subcontractors, and a majority of them don't even have the compliance documents, They just have a founding document and they claim, and there needs to be compliance even from the main contractor to have subcontractors that have documentation. And when they don't have such documentation, and that's when the issues come up and they start demanding and raising their demands through also the personnel. So, but as a city, we cannot have arrangements with subcontractors, because subcontractors are, as a result of the main contractor, sourcing out some level of work. But what we can do, what we can do from where we sit is to make sure that we assist, like we have done in most of our projects, we assist the main contractor to make sure that we safeguard the particular project. Lastly, as a city, we have developed and approved last year, I think it was in March, allocations policy. Encapsulated in that allocations policy is exactly what you are dealing with. Because part of the problem is that you have individuals that have houses or have received housing opportunities but want to be part of the PSC. And we have stopped that activity from happening, because if you are not a beneficiary, what do you serve in that particular PSC? So it should be the people who should be the custodians of the PSC or form part of the PSC, only those that are beneficiaries to the project. And I've indicated to the executive director that and the directors that now, because we must have the list upfront, upon that list, we are able to elect the beneficiaries. Because if you are not a beneficiary to a project, why do you serve in the PSC? Because you're going to start now raising some issues that do not relate to this, and you'll find other ways of making sure that you disrupt the project. Thank you so much, Chair. I hope I've answered the member correctly. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Well, thank you, Chair. I think Member Saleko asked regarding the PSC members being appointed and the selection criteria. Member Saleko, I think you must take one step back. Whenever we initiate a project in whichever municipality, we form a social compact, which is a document that actually outlines each one's role as part of that project. And I see that as a binding contract between myself, the municipality, and the host beneficiaries, or the host ward as well, which is why councillors are also part of those meetings. And I think what I've noted recently over the last 3 years, it's that the project steering committee is actually being politicized. Although the intention of government has always been to ensure the community are part of this journey, that the criteria is quite clear, as Councillor Boyes just said. You must be from the beneficiary pool of the host municipality for that specific project, and you must be elected by the community. Clear, it's simple. There's no to and froing about that criteria. I've attended over the last 3 years quite a number of these elections, and literally one would believe almost you are actually at another form of a meeting, not in the interest, oddly enough, of the community that we seek to empower with opportunities. And which is why I've consistently called that councillors, together with ourselves as the department and the ministry, play an active role when they are aware that we are going to have a PSC meeting, to elect PSC members, to play an active role, because councillors ultimately are elected to represent the community's needs. Government can't do this alone. But also that the community elects PSC members who they know will put politics aside to act in the interest of that project. We have also seen extortion playing a bigger role is where suddenly there's now a destabilization of certain PSCs. There's suddenly a change in leadership, all for politicking, which opens up the door for extortions through these so-called community business forums. Now I call them nothing else than organized extortion organizations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Minister Anna.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. I picked up two questions that were directed to police oversight and community safety. The Priority Committee on Extortions meet bi-weekly. We are also having ad hoc engagements. Also, when there is a number of activities that are popping up, we would be able to then quickly, on an ad hoc basis, also engage. That is coupled to our bi-weekly meetings with the police commissioner as well. And those are ongoing. And the one question that you asked deliberately, and I'm going to try to answer this, Chairperson, is that why are people not coming forward? On the one hand, we have a scenario where, yes, because trust in the entire criminal justice system is at its all-time lowest. Africa barometer indicated that trust in the South African Police Service, and by extension, the entire criminal justice system is at its all-time lowest. So we would understand, yes, that certain residents and business owners would be reluctant to open those cases. But also the fear of intimidation, the fear of retaliation if you do open that particular case. And there has been incidences when cases are made. One particular person, which was during the height of COVID, where this particular person had to flee all the way to Germany because he came out, reported extortion, they came back, and they ultimately threatened his life, the life of his business, and he then had to literally move to Germany. So we've seen lack of trust, yes, in the entire criminal justice system, but also if you are going to make that case, what could potentially happen to you or to your family? The one question that you asked, what plans are in place with regard to rural areas? Chairperson, I'm going to try to frame this in a very clear way. Because from police oversight and community safety, we understand that we are serving the Western Cape. Ek wil nie die landelike gebiede moet gaan skou word as die stiefkind van die Weskaap. In the first quarter of 2023 financial year, first quarter 22-23 financial year, we saw a decrease in homicides of 8% in our priority areas, where LEAP officers were deployed. So altogether, 8% decrease in homicides. However, we saw a 28% increase in homicides in our 5 priority areas outside of the city of Cape Town. This will require further analysis because it's not merely that crime is shifting from the city to our rural areas. There's a number of factors that contribute to it. For one particular weekend, Grabouw was sadly known as the murder capital for the Western Cape, because at that particular weekend, across the entire province, there was 5 stabbings that took place in an area like Grabouw. So we are detailing and delving into the data to see where those LEAP officers should be deployed. That is in the best interest of the entire province. Devolution was mentioned twice. We are wanting to strengthen the hand of SAPS here in the Western Cape. Hence, we are calling. We are saying that should it be devolved and that our policing needs and priorities will be taken into account, because crime patterns and crime is different in each and every province. So we are consistently calling for devolution so that we can able to strengthen the hand of Brigadier Mkabila, and I won't mention other names, General Voskel, and every SAPS member. We want to do it for every SAPS member that is dedicated, but also for those from Manenberg, the community members, so that we are able to have a more meaningful role in the management and the choices are not made in Pretoria. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Major Voskel.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe just to give feedback on the operational side with regarding to 2 questions that impact on the city of Cape Town as well. I can confirm that there are 2 coordinating committees or task teams that is currently chairing by the SAPS. And it's not a question that fault finding mission here. It is more in advisory. The first coordinating task team is an open meeting where about plus minus 100 to 150 members are represented, and it is more statistical driven, where we are discussing the statistics, and we are not going really into depth with regarding to intelligence, with regarding to syndicates, with regarding to individuals, with regarding to groupings, and that is a challenge in that particular task team. And the proposal would be, and I think that is the proposal and the request from the City of Cape Town, where a high-level task team existing out of police entities, the DPP, the Hawks, and then the executive director from the City of Cape Town or certain policing chiefs are part of that particular task team in order to discuss it and to delve in depth with intelligence, information, operational, investigation, and communication. Those 5 pillars of the South African police with regarding to extortion. The second question that I just want to answer is with regarding to the support that we are currently giving to the rural areas. We are currently in consultation with all the district municipalities in terms of what sort of support we can render as the City of Cape Town with regarding to any extortion or land invasion cases, so that MOUs between the different district municipalities is currently happening. And then we are all serving on the Provincial Priority Committee of Land Invasion that is chaired by the HOD Paulson, where all the role players are also part of, where we are driving towards a nerve center or a operational coordinating center where we are going to monitor all these incidents as part of a collective process. So I just want to give that assurance to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Nalfoske, over to you.
Madam Chair, thank you. I think what we can say is that this is a complex threat that requires a multidisciplinary approach. I'm going to ask the detectives perhaps just to give a little bit more detail around, Director Roberts alluded to the high-level committee, perhaps on a more operational and tactical level, how they function, and who are the role players involved, and the operational strategies which they follow. Thank you. And speak to the capability, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe before you respond to that, I would love to add about the investment that you put in the intelligence, because I mean, we can see that this criminal behavior, they are bold in the actions that they are doing. So is there any intelligence investment that you are implementing in Western Cape to really try to categorize, or to have something like a dashboard to really identify where is it concentrated that there is that criminality behavior, that where it originates? Because it seems like there is a mafia operational that is doing that. And also, we have in the city what we call the shack farming, that people that already have houses are the ones who are having the shacks. They bring their sites and then they rent those shacks to people that need accommodations. Now, if the intelligence is there, it will be something that maybe could have been mentioned, or maybe you will mention it, and how are you going to deal with that? Because it's where you will have to identify people that are doing that. And the community, though they don't want to come to report that, of saying who are those people, I tend to believe that those people that are collecting the money for the rentals, if the intelligence is there, it will make sure that they identify who are those people. Now, it falls back into to what an extent in Western Cape is SAPS investing in their intelligence to really, really make sure that we take back that power that it has supposed to be in the governments, rather than allowing the criminals to lead and for us to be reactive, rather than using intelligence to be proactive. So if we can get the response to that, how do you go about really to categorize all these different types of extortion, and also how do you prepare in being proactive to make sure that you are really trying to eradicate this as it happens. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Mklabi.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, we will break this into two. I will take the first part that, yes, and then my colleague here, Brigadier Nana, will take now the second part. But what I would like to report here, starting from the priority committee meetings, which we are having twice bi-weekly, that is twice in a month. The role players that are there, it's also multidisciplinary. We do have a business against crime. We do have the NPA. We do have the City of Cape Town. And then that is now the priority committee that will look into the cases that are reported. And then we also report progress on those matters. And then I say this one is now taking place twice in a month, that is bi-weekly. We also have now the operational task teams. I said when I was reporting, we've got two, one in the City of Cape Town. If I may start with that one has got actually 19 members that are multidisciplinary. They are led by a commissioned officer, and then they are dealing with all the cases that are coming in the City of Cape Town. And we also got now the second group, which is now in the Winelands. There are 14 members, also led by a commissioned officer. They also have their meetings twice in a month, whereby they are discussing all the challenges for the month and then the cases that are also reported. And we also have now the Tactical Joint Operational Center, which we also now discusses the deployments. Whenever the threat is showing up in a specific district or area, then these are sitting every Tuesday, in each and every week, 10 o'clock, the tech jock is sitting, and then we discuss now how to deploy with our members. And then my colleague here will speak now to the other categories. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair and members. I really want to acknowledge that this House is aware of the complexity and the difficult type of crime that we are sitting. Extortion have different and various crimes that emanate from extortion, and this specifically in this House that we sit, it was mentioned, we're sitting with murders, we're sitting with robberies and different kinds of crimes. What we also have in place is, we call it POCs, a Provincial Organized Crime Secretariat meetings, where we have different stakeholders that is part of these meetings. We have it on a monthly basis, where we break down our stats to the bone with regards to this type of crimes. The people that participate in these meetings is the National Prosecution Authority, then the Financial Intelligence Center, the FIC, the SARS, and then we have the investigators. In these meetings, we start with inquiries, then we go to major investigations, and then we register official projects where we identify syndicates and groups where we having time frames in projects. We're starting off and ending off of projects to curb and to investigate on a more sophisticated and a more organized fashion of these crimes. During these meetings, we identify crime intelligence play a big role here. They giving us detailed information. They do what they do. Red flags is identified and presented in these meetings. New modus operandis, we go into depth with regards to new modus operandis. We look at new reported cases. We discuss strategies of prevention as well as our investigating approaches. We discuss disruption operations, and we look into depth with regards to the gangs. What are their involvement into extortion, the transportation sector, the taxi industry, and we go into detail when it comes to the investigation of these cases because it's complex and we take it to a level of organized crime. And we have projects. Unfortunately, I cannot divulge all the detail of what we are doing, but we have registered projects where we identify these culprits, and it unfortunately takes time when we pin down having takedowns on these operations. But that is what we do with regards to organized crime, because this is a very complex one and we take it very serious. Thank you, Chair. That is my contribution with regards to it.
Thank you very much. I am going to take Member Freud.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not going to be very long. I just have a couple of questions on the city's presentation, MC Boye, on the Region 4, Guguletu Infill Earth 2849, Nyanga Mau Mau. You noted that there was an incompetence of contractors in that specific case. How did that come about? How did we employ an incompetent contractor? And what is done to remedy the contractor, or to make sure that the contractor never works for the city again? And then the second question to you, sir, is the Sheffield Road housing project in Philippi. It's noted that the incidents were averted by engagement with these fora. Now, this business development forum, we all know that they are faces for extortion, as the mayor has pointed out. What can we learn from those engagements going forward? Because clearly it's not a negotiation. I would assume it's not a negotiation. It is not an attempt to reconcile. We've got to get these people out of our housing projects. Then, Chair, I must say on the South African Police Services presentation, while I welcome the presentation, I'm a bit concerned that there's still this lack of trust that the minister has pointed out, and I don't see the plan. The challenges, what was worrying for me, the presentation ended with challenges, but I don't see the plan as clearly as I should. And maybe it's me. Maybe I've missed the actual plan. I've heard devolution of powers, and yes, I agree with that. But what is the plan for combating these extortions and rooting it out at the virtual route? And beating this once and for all, because the minister's right. We don't want to see what's happening in KwaZulu-Natal happening in the Western Cape. I mean, that would be a disaster. And extortion doesn't only happen on the housing sites. I work in other areas of the city, and there are extortion rackets happening on other sites as well, which are not housing sites. Prasa being one, in Heidelveld being one, but I'm not going to touch on that because that's not the topic of this meeting. But I fail to see what the plan is. I hear Tactical Joint Operations Center, and I welcome that, and I hear what the Brigadier just said now, but I'm not sure what the plan is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It wasn't that much questions. I'm going to take Member Brinkhays before I go to the members online.
Well, thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, when it comes to housing extortion, I think despite the best efforts, from Western Cape government and even the city of Cape Town, I think that the feeling on the ground, when we go on the ground into areas like, for example, Menenberg, and that's why I've invited the community of Menenberg today, is that the feeling on the ground is that government is not in control. In fact, the feeling is that these extorters and gangsters, they are in control. So my question to the MMC of Human Settlements in the city of Cape Town, that he mentioned when it came to the Menenberg PHP project, the MMC mentioned that they took control of the situation. I would like to know that how did they go about in dealing with the situation there on the ground in Menenberg, and going forward, like my colleague member Fry also stated, is there a clear plan of how they're going to deal with this situation of extortion? And if they could share with us some of the details of that plan. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Maybe before the city answer, the Department of Human Settlements said it spends about 1.5 million on safety for the extortion. That is the Department of Human Settlements only. So if maybe the city can indicate, so for how much do you spend per month? Because maybe if we put the monetary value to this problem, it will sort of highlight how bad is the situation when coming to and I'm not shortchanging other syndicates of the extortion for kidnappings, but I'm talking about the allocated budget that should be used for the intended purpose, and now it has to be redirected because of this criminal behavior. So if we can get how much is the city spends for that, and also the community safety to say how much are they directing also, and also subs, if you can also say how much are you redirecting to on a monthly basis to try to fight that, so that the communities of Western Cape can know how much is it that is costing all these fears of government and all these departments to try to fight this, for the communities to really know that we need their help also, their buy-in to deal with this. Over to you, MMC Boy.
Thanks, Chair. Perhaps, member, maybe I must ask Benjamin. How did I have contractors that are not able to to complete projects? Because maybe minister will have to do some due diligence on the panel on a serious note going forward. Because part of the problem, the contractors that we had utilized, we had sourced them from the Provincial Human Settlements panel, and they had good ratings in terms of their CIDB standing. But when we got them on site, because for an example, the project in Point, which is Mau Mau, it's about 92 million rand project on its own. So we had, we got someone who has got about 7 to 8 GB standing. So by the grading, it looks on paper that the person has the ability and to conduct or to be able to execute the work at hand. So, but what happened was contrary to what we have experienced now, that they didn't have enough resources. Others had to wait for them to be paid in order to do further work. So those were the complexities, and some of the contracts, the province had to terminate the contracts because we were piggybacking on those, and hence now we have, from the city side, we have then said to ourselves, we're going to have our own panel. We're going to have big boys in the industry to make sure that we don't experience such issues going forward. So it was around those contracts. So, but we're hoping, because of our own panels, we have done some good due diligence on them through our supply chain process. So we're hoping that we'll not experience that. Hence, now going forward, we will be tapping on our own panel, which is 36 contractors, to make sure that we finish off and expedite the delivery of that particular project. Around the issue of Sheffield, we can't negotiate with tax, if I can put it that way. We can't negotiate, we can't embark on that exercise. I think Minister Simas also alluded to that. We can't be in a position to have that negotiation. And hence, even in some of the projects that where we had to, contractors were to pull out, we couldn't have any negotiations. So it's an issue that we can't tap into. But what is of most important to us is to make sure that we try and protect our land parcels. We're doing development and get more assistance, because in trying to I'm sure Director Roberts will have more figures better than me because he deals with the broader safety and security chair in relation to this. Because as the department, because we can't utilize grants to utilize for security, we had to go and ask the executive mayor, and hence on the adjustment budget I indicated earlier that there was an approval. He agreed on the 15 million rands that we got on our adjustment budget yesterday. So it's not enough, but also when we dealt with, I think one of the members of SABS also indicated around the issue of shack farming and all that, we had a budget of just over 170 million rands to assist, but it's not enough because you must remember, we get, as human settlements, more assistance from our sister departments like safety and security to be able to assist, and they have to reprioritize some of the work that they need to do to come and assist us, which is not something that was intended. So I'm sure Director Roberts would be in a position to give more details in that. It's the issue of not budging. That's how we managed to complete the project of Manenberg. We could not budge. We had, the LEAP program assisted us immensely. And we had good visibility in that particular area to assist the contractor to complete that particular project. It was not easy. So that's how we've managed to deal with it. And also, we got good assistance or cooperation rather from the contractor and also from the community, and hence you see that beautiful project now being completed. And it's a program or project that we feel proud about under the circumstances that we have managed to do a completion on it. I think through the mayor, if the Director Roberts can perhaps indicate on the figures there. Thanks.
You can go on, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Just with regarding to budget alone, we're spending a lot of overtime on extra deployment in terms of the various threats identified by the city. One of these threats, and a few of these threats, are actually with regarding to serious and violent crimes in this particular hotspot areas. That is where our overtime is going in for safety and security. Gangsterism, specifically in your Manenberg, Hanover Park, Steenberg, Delft area where these projects are currently in operation. We have to deploy our GDT for a period of over a month now with the shootings in the Manenberg area. And just after, when we've got it under stability, we have to move to Mitchell's Plain again, and it's gangsterism, it's organized crime that are actually hindering this particular process to go forward. So yes, in terms of Manenberg, there was a lot of shootings. The gangsters were identified, the structures were identified. There is an integrated approach with the South African Police Services. The MEC was part of our interactions within the Manenberg area, and our deployment is still in place with regarding to that particular area in order to ensure that those projects can go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take it that now you don't have the cost. The committee can get it. How much, or do you have roughly the amount that you can mention? Or the mayor will do that?
Chair, I did request it, and as soon as I will receive it, I can make it available to you or on a later stage.
Madam Chair, having just gone through the adjustment budget process in quite some detail, I actually have these numbers at hand. I can tell you the numbers are quite scary. The City of Cape Town spends 987 million rand a year on security. Not all of that, of course, is on construction sites, but a very significant portion, and we can get the exact number for you, is security on construction sites. And as the MMC has just said, we have just yesterday allocated a 15 million rand allocation just for those current construction sites which are paused, they're stalled because of security concerns. We will be beefing up security there so that we can get the bulldozers back on site and get building again. And they will have a 15 million rand top up for this financial year. So the numbers are extraordinary, staggering. And of course, all of that comes at the cost of additional houses that could be delivered to other people and additional services that could be delivered to other people. I would rather not spend that money on security. I would rather spend it on sewerage improvements and water improvements and more housing. But that is exactly the point of today's engagement. If I may, Madam Chair, just touch on some of the other issues as well. I really just want to agree with Honourable Seleko's point about these local labour and local business reservations and echo MMC Boy's point that we have to have a difficult conversation about whether that reservation system should continue. I think that it is the start of the slippery slope to extortion in communities, because when you say that 30% of every contract is reserved for local businesses or local business forums, then immediately the question is, well, why isn't it 35%? Why isn't it 40%? Why shouldn't it be 90%? And so there we go into the extortion discussion. And so I really think that we have to rethink those in all of our contracts. I also want to touch on someone made the point about escalation clauses. We must be honest, Madam Chair, with ourselves to say sometimes contractors benefit from security delays because they can claim the escalation clauses. So it is not impossible, and I'm not saying that I have evidence for this, but it is not impossible that contractors don't really mind and may even be behind some of the delays so that they can then claim the escalation clauses. So I have said to our team, to the MMC and the ED, so far as I'm concerned, no contractor should be able to claim any escalation clause unless they have registered a criminal case for extortion and intimidation. Yet we have contractors, as you can see on the slide, who have never registered criminal cases. The projects are delayed for months and they're claiming those clauses. So I really think that it should become a standard rule that they cannot claim that without a criminal case having been registered. And then just finally to say, my colleague, the Honourable Minister, spoke about contractors having to go into hiding and go to other countries. And just to say that that is the case with officials as well. We have officials right now in the city of Cape Town who have got permanent security, who are not staying at home because of construction site mafias. So it is alarming. And if I could just add finally onto the points made by the honourable colleagues from the SAPS, I'm very pleased to hear about the dedicated resources. I would like to press you to say that we have to see high-profile arrests and prosecutions. The resources is the first step, but we will not, I think, break the back of this mafia until they start to realize they're going to go to prison. They're going to get caught. They have to be arrested. They have to be brought to justice. So hopefully we will see further arrests in the coming months. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Member Frey asked about the plan. Brigadier Mkabi.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, if I can just speak on the plan, the SAPS, we had a two-pronged plan whereby the task teams that I just mentioned, they are conducting disruptive operations which are day-to-day. I spoke about the meetings, the tech job meetings that are taking place on a weekly basis, and then those disruptive operations, they are guided by our crime intelligence. That is, our crime pattern analysis is guiding us now for these deployments on the day-to-day. And then we also have got the areas in terms of the geographical areas now where these acts of extortions are prevalent. And then we deploy our resources there. And when it comes now to the covert investigations, that now the undercover investigations, we've got project, as Brigadier Anana alluded to that, we've got projects that are directed into mitigating the threat. Once the threat, we cannot address it or we see it's stubborn, then we change into covert methodology where we've got projects, we identify projects, be it in the gang area, be it in the kidnapping, be it in the extortion. We identify those projects, and unfortunately, projects, it takes some time before one can see the fruits. That is, the takedown can be effected. And then once that takedown is conducted, and then you can see we've got various successful stories with gangs. We've got cases now that are gang related that are already on the High Court roll. We also got cases of kidnappings, because in the Western Cape, when this kidnapping, also a form of extortion, also showed its head, we made good progress. We've got we attacked it together jointly. There is the NPA. We also got now the city, that is the teams are multidisciplinary. We've got a number of cases that are already on the High Court roll. I think now in March, the media and also the public will start now getting those fruits. Yes, it takes a long time because it's a long-term investigation. A project, it has to take at least 6 months in order to realize, or the community or the public to realize its fruits. But we are really working hand in hand with the city. We're sitting, having meetings with them on a weekly basis, as well on the monthly basis. Our tech jobs, guided by the crime pattern analysis, which is done by our crime intelligence officers. We've got a huge investment on that. So they are helping us, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a quick one from me, members, Minister Simmons. The issue of a contractor that you have to answer, that there is your vetting of contractors. What happened there?
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. I'm actually happy that Councillor Boy has brought this matter up, because remember, there are certain City of Cape Town projects which, at the request of the city, they asked province to help, which predates me becoming the executive authority. And obviously, the intention was to assist the Cape Town, and our processes are fallible. There can be human mistakes, because all the contractors that are on our database, they go through a process of being confirmed that they are tax compliant, their CIDB grading is effective, and so forth. So there's nothing much that you can actually see beyond that. But since 2019, we have been tightening up our processes, and we have also now included certain built-in fail-safes to go beyond just what we see on the application form of such contractors, and even taking action against underperforming contractors in the non-metro areas, and also red flagging them so they can actually be alerting and be informing we inform other municipalities, because these people jump from one municipality to the other. So in conclusion, so just our intention was to assist the city. We've also learned lessons, yes. We've tightened up those processes, and we will ensure that those contractors are red flagged across the Western Cape. But I also want to applaud the city now that they have their own panel to ensure that they learn from our lessons, to ensure the same doesn't happen under their watch. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Member Sean August and Member Maran. Over to you, members.
Chairperson, thank you very much. You've punished us, myself and Member Maran. But let me give my contribution. Most of my questions has been answered, Chairperson. And I want to come back to Member Fry's question, that we've heard various plans from various departments, but we haven't seen one holistic plan. Minister Simmons is saying that 21,600 beneficiaries over the last 4 years has not benefited due to this extortion, meaning that's over 100,000 people in the province, and 96%, as the minister has said, 96% of these people are in the metro. So I thank the relevant departments, City of Cape Town and province, for taking this matter serious, and then having task teams and various factors of departments involved in this, but we don't see the plan as Fry has said. And what I would like to see within that plan is the mayor's contribution earlier on, where he said that the contractors needs to register with SAPS. The contractors, should they still get 30% of the contract or to local labor? Looking into smaller contractors having to also increase their status in terms of construction. What's the impact on the financial issue within that community? And how does the community benefit, and how do we deal with this? That's what we want to see in the plan. We also would like to see in the plan, how do we amplify, and which department will take the lead role in having these conversations on radio, on television, on advertisements, for communities to know what is actually happening within our province, because 100,000 people is being affected, although only 21,600 beneficiaries. Then also I'd like to know, what is the success rate? I hear that we are going to the High Court. I hear that there's court cases. But this court cases is to the juniors or to whoever that's been arrested. But the syndicate still carries on. The success rate of these teams going from site to site to divert these extortionists and giving them the opportunity to threaten. So what is the success rate for, that I'm asking Robbie Roberts? And then also, thank you for redirecting your resources more to these issues, and the 15 million additional budget, MMC Malusi Boy. But in terms of safety and security, can we not redirect some of the issues? If we look at the cameras that's currently being installed, if we look at the highway patrol, should we not perhaps redirect more of the resources so that we can have this 96% that's affected in the metro deliver on housing opportunities for them, other than vehicle registration thing? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. I'm not punishing you. You punished yourself, Honorable Member, by not being here. Member Maran, over to you.
Thanks, Chairperson. To all members and everyone.
Member Maran, we can't hear you. You need to be where there is a stable connection. Try again, otherwise we are going to continue with the meeting. Try again.
Can you hear me?
Stick to that. Yeah, I can hear you, but continue.
Thanks. I'm going to speak a bit up because I thought I am at a stable connection, but it seems it's not the case. Chair, let up front, I'm not sure whether the issue of devolution fits into the meeting. I'm not sure, because issues, especially some of the issues, it's not responsibility of our
Member Maran, Member Maran, it's really bad. I wish you were in here, seriously so. We can't hear you at all, but the only concern that I heard from you is you don't know if the issue of the devolution fits in here. That's what I could pick up, if I'm right. And I think maybe from the leaders that did presentation that mentioned the devolution, they will respond to you on that one. And I'm going to hand over to Mayor.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I just want to respond to the point made by the Honourable August, to say the highway patrol and the cameras that we're putting in those cars are actually one of the best ways that we can catch more of these people. If a vehicle is involved in an extortion or a murder, and that vehicle registration number is uploaded to SAPS's database, which is now integrated with the city's highway patrol and the license plate recognition cameras in those vehicles, then if that vehicle is driving anywhere in the city and they happen to drive past one of our vehicles that's got the dashboard camera on it, they will be caught. It's much more eyes and ears, and it is already having a tremendous success. We've still got some data quality issues that we need to work out with the SAPS to make sure that that database is clean. We're pulling over some people whose vehicles were stolen in 2005 or something, and it just happens to be on the database still. So we've got to clean that up. But other than that, I think it actually holds tremendous potential to be a force for good in stopping criminals in Cape Town.
Thank you very much. Minister, on the Member Maran's devolution.
I know, thank you, Chair, because I was one of the two that touched on the devolution. Chair, I think it's a known fact that the Western Cape is under-resourced in terms of SAPS. It's been for more than a decade. You can't wish that away. And when we do get police officers where they are placed across our province, it doesn't make sense at times. Instead of optimally utilizing your resources effectively and placing your police resources where it's much, much needed. Hence, to my colleague, we have a LEAP program, which is a targeted approach, which has shown that where you shift your resources in a focused approach, it does work. From a human settlements perspective, because the first port of call for us, when we deal with invasions, when we deal with extortions on our sites, is SAPS. But if you go to an area where there's only one police van and 4 policemen in a station, who's going to come out? Let's be frank. That's why I support the devolution of policing in terms of a human settlements perspective. I don't know if my colleague wants to add on to that.
We didn't hear, what did you say when you made yourself clear, Minister Allen? What did you say when you said you
Thank
made
you. I've
yourself
made
clear?
myself extremely clear in that regard, that we want to strengthen the hand of the South African Police Service by calling for devolution of powers.
Thank you very much. Is all questions being answered, Member Maran? I see your legacy hand. Are you sorted? Okay, he dropped it.
Well, the question is me, maybe you.
Ooh, I'm trying very hard to accommodate your challenges, but it's a bit difficult from this side because you are literally talking in staccato and we are losing you sometimes. So it's not going to work at all, but we appreciate you listening to us. And we will take it from there. Maybe on the resolutions, you can always send a WhatsApp to Shumis or to myself, and then I'll read it loud so that you can hear and feel like you are part of this meeting. Members, any other question from you? Okay. There's no any other question, so I'm going to start with, oh, sorry, Mama. I really apologize. I didn't allow the community members if they would love to ask the questions or if they would love to get the clarity of the answers that they had. Over to you, Ma'am.
Hi, good day, Madam Speaker and all ministers and bearers of officers, if there's any. I would just like a few questions that I want to ask the Minister of the Police and the Human Settlement. First, I would like to say that I am a security officer for one of the sites in Menenberg, the Schools of Skills, as I was there when everything happened. And I would just like to inform that the police was very, very, very slow. In any action that happened on the site, I was like the main security guard on day shift. And whatever happened, when these gangsters came in and I phoned the police, the response was so bad. They came after the gun, when the guys came with the gun. They came after, everything was done, every 10 minutes. Due to my cousins, I've got 2 cousins that in law enforcement. in N1 City, TMC. I had to call them and phone them. Can you guys come and assist me in Menenberg as quick as you can? Because I do not know what's going to happen here. Because the police didn't come after 15 minutes. I mean, like, I could have been dead by the time they got there. And there was, for me, it's like, I, as a community living in Menenberg, it's like you live in Menenberg, but you have to fear for your own life. But I didn't worry because I didn't come for that actually. And the other second question is, you know, I walk past, I walk in my road like for many days now, and the police was busy. The police van was literally putting crates in a police van. I went to the station command and I said to him, you know, sir, as a community of Menenberg, a lady that lives in Menenberg, your people are putting vans in, crates in vans, and they are driving around and to go drop it everywhere. Why are they doing that? You have to win. As soon as you start having a meeting with your police in the morning, I don't ever want to see this. If I see it again, I will put it on TV because this is not allowed in any of police. Because I ask many of my family members who are in law enforcement, I ask them, why do these guys do this? This is not part of their job. Because when I need them, they don't come. So why are they doing crates and stuff like that? And to the human settlement, the other thing I wanted to ask you guys, firstly, I live in Menenberg. I'm 16 years on the waiting list. Most of the people are more than me. It's not all about me. They are 20, 24 years. I've got a friend who's busy dying. She's got 8 months to live. I walk with her everywhere. The city council doesn't want to give her a house. It's like, we don't want to, but she's busy dying. She doesn't even know what it is like to having own a house. Even me, I can't use the toilet. My father-in-law put the light off whenever he wants to. You mean I've got 5 kids? What do you tell your kids? You tell your kids that guy put the light off. You tell your kids that you can't use their toilet. I mean, like literally, but I'm a member of the, I live in Cape Town. I'm how you say that, a citizen of Cape Town. You know, like I'm talking from the heart now, seriously. I mean, like, mostly say your logo, City of Cape Town, making possible progress, and like, what is the other one? City works for you. When you come into the city and you explain your situation about people, they have to come out. And the other thing is, I did a 1 month walk in Menenberg. This is all the houses that were built in Menenberg, me alone. I asked no one. I'm not a community leader. I'm nothing. I'm just a normal person. I went to Tambu Square. I walked there, I asked the people, like, what happened in this project? How was this project for you guys that these houses went by the built? Number one, we didn't get any geysers. We didn't get any paint. It was sold to the contractors. Number 3, they said to us, there's 12 illegal. They just asked me to mention this, 12 illegal tenants. I walked to Urban Street. I walked every house there. Number 1, the first house, it's not owned by the guy. He said he's renting it. I said, how come you rent this house? Because this person of house is not allowed to rent the house. I went to the other house. No, this house was sold to me. I went to the next house. All the houses that are there were sold. It's a rent out. It doesn't even belong to the people. It's nobody, it's me. I walked. I went to the Downs project, the new project. The people that are working for the city council and the RDP housing, you know what happened? Their family got houses there. I was so disappointed. But they don't want to give my friend who's busy dying a house, but their family members got houses. I asked the daughter, how did you get a house? She looked at me and said to me, my mommy's working was for the city council. I said, okay, fine. I don't have a problem with your mommy working for the RDP council or the city council. I went there, I said to the lady, I have 5 kids. You know what she said to me? I asked her, can't you give me a house? She gave somebody a house, also a person that I know. And she said to me, it's me who put him in that house. If you want to do anything, you can do nothing but me. I said, there's higher power than you. That's what I know. Honorable ministers, parents of officers, I know that. There's higher people than you. That's why I asked Mrs. Khalil. I met the education, the man of the, the education, minister of education, who was there by my side. The people with him, I told him this nice story and I cried. I don't want to cry today. I said to Jesus, I'm not going to cry, Lord, because I want you, the ministers, to investigate and see how these people are giving the houses just away to family members, which is not fair to us. Because you must wait 16 years for us. You can't get a house. They just say to you like that when you come there. You know, and it's not good to live by people all the time. I mean, 16 years, it's a very long time to wait for a house. And 20 years and 24 years, I'm talking for the whole Menenberg, who asked me to speak upon them, for them. you know, and it's not good. If you love, if like me who was on the side the day that the gangsters or everything, I just prayed. I said, God be with me, because if I die today, it's fine. All the city's gonna say she was a good worker. All my bosses gonna say she was a good worker.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Yeah, they will respond to you. I'm going to take another community member. There's another hand. And if you can get your name for our records, we will appreciate that, if you're comfortable with that. What's your name, ma'am?
Madam Speaker, Lavina Fortune.
Lavina Fortune. Okay, thank you very much. I saw two hands. Ma'am, you are the first, and then after it will be you at the front.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker, and everyone sitting here. I've also got a issue about the housing, rental housing. I've had this. I went to housing office where my sister Ron.
Before you continue, just say your name.
My name is Delia Matali.
Okay.
My sister Ron used to work at Menenberg housing office. So this house where I'm staying at, I went to ask for permission to stay with the people that is inside the house without knowing if the house was given to these people or was the tenant of the house. My sister Ron gave me affidavits and stuff to sign. Now, after 5 years, I'm in the house now for 5 years with these people. They send this guy a eviction letter. And while I'm asking what's going to happen to me and my children, because I'm also on a waiting list of 18 years this year, and they say they don't know. They don't know what's going to happen to me. I must just leave. So if I leave, if I take my stuff and I leave, where am I going? I don't have another place to stay. I don't have a income that I can go and buy me a house. And they said there's a subsidy. So if you go to the subsidy, it is taking 6 months, they say, to pay out for the people who sell their house to you, which there are no houses to buy for 178,000. 178,000 is the subsidy that I qualify for, but I can't get a house for that price. So which means me and my children are literally outside on the street because of this guy that he's not even the tenant, it was his mother's house. He was doing all the activities, gangster activities. I usually went to the police station. I went to talk to this Captain Adams every time, complaining about him, bringing gangsters, selling drugs and everything, while me and my children are staying in the house, but nobody did anything. And then eventually when they called him in, I went with him. They showed me on the system all the complaints of SAPS, but not once mentioning that I was also complaining about the stuff that's going on in the house. So it's actually now that I was in cahoots with him, and so I must also leave. But when I went to stay there, my sister Ron already knew that that stuff was happening there, and nobody told me about it.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Do you mind if we get a copy of that so that we can direct that to...
Yes.
Okay, there's a lady that will come to you so that we can have a copy of it. Thank you very much. Ma'am?
Be greeted, Madam Speaker, and every member of the Cabinet. I don't have much to say, but there's a few questions I need to ask.
Your name first?
My name is Elizabeth Smith. There's a few questions I like. Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Madam. There's a few questions I like to ask the city. As for me, I don't have a problem. I know you cannot have a house like, say, for instance, a tenancy when you're not on the database. But I do have a problem when people get tenancies and they are not on the database. And my next thing that I want to bring to the floor is I need to understand why, if when you go to the housing department, if you go this year, they have a policy. If you go next year, another policy. The fourth year, another policy. There's no standard policy. So what I'm trying to say here, I just want to bring something across what happened to me. I stayed with my parents all my life. I'm 52 years now. I've been staying with them all my life. They are late. So there was another tendency, it was my brother. He was late. So now when I went to the office, I explained this thing. The office asked me in my face, how come your brother has this tendency? He doesn't have a child, well, whereby you have 3 children. I said, I don't know. I don't know how they did this, but they did it anyway. But let bygones be bygones. The next thing they told me, they said to me, but ma'am, if your brother is going to pass on before you, you're going to be the next tenancy. Now I'm stuck with a problem whereby I have an elder sister, which I do respect her. She's very old age, she's almost 70 years. But my problem remains the same. They told me that this tenancy now, they told me before it's going to come to me, fine. Now they come back to tell me this tenancy needs to go to your sister because of her age. I say, I do not have a problem. But according to me, the Constitution say that you cannot have a tenancy if you're not on the database. So where does it leave me? And she didn't stay with this residence for years. It can just come and have a tenancy. She's not even on the database. That is my question to the city. How did they help us? Because now as family members, city are telling us this story, that story, and we end up fighting each other. Whereby if we had a straight answer, there was going to be no fight. Everybody was going to live in peace.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the issues that communities being raised is like the individual problems, and it's going to be difficult for the departments to answer now because it's a specific problem per individual. So what I'm going to ask is that they are not going to go, I'm going to use my power as a chairperson. Someone from the city, someone from the department is going to sit down with you so that they can get your contacts, they can get their problems, and I will make sure that there is a response to those issues. I will also ask them to CC me as they respond to you on those individual problems that you are talking to us about today. Will that be okay?
Yes,
so
ma'am.
don't go anywhere until you have given someone your name and the problem that you want it to be dealt with. I don't know where you are and whatever the rental place that it falls under the city or the department. So you will have to say, where do you stay when you talk to them for them to be able to direct it accordingly. We can do it that way and then it will work. Ma'am, is it individual or is it about the agenda of today? Over to you. Your name first.
Hi, Lady Chair and all the ministers. I would just like to know, as the human settlement, I'm Geraldine Peterson. I live in Menenberg. As they spoke about this housing projects that's roaming currently. When I started meetings, there was a steering committee, which consists of the 5 different people in Menenberg. They are representing Menenberg. So now you go to the meeting, they say this and this and this. So one day the city of Cape Town came to the community center. They explained they're possibly building the towns and like a Philippi project. So now they're building the project. You putting on your name because they said you have to be on the database and able to qualify. Then you have a steering committee, as I heard the human settlement man talk about when they start building on these houses, these projects, they come to the community elects. So on the first meeting I went to, there was an election. So 15 years down the line, the same committee is still sitting. The houses is going everywhere. But to where it have to go to the people that attended the meeting, you must put on your name for the meeting. This is the, now you go to the office where they are, they tell you, you are not registered for this one, see to the next one. So when you come to this one, you see the daughter is living in a house. You ask, no, it's my mother, because it doesn't involve you being the mother of that child. If you put your name on the database and your parent died, and you have a daughter that's 22 years old, now you get a house, you put your daughter into that house. It's unfair towards the person that's waiting on that house, because now you're living in your parents' house and your daughter is living in the house that you got from the RDP or whatever settlement. And I think that this committee has been there in Manenberg for 14 years. You haven't seen any progress, because the people that you go to and ask, if you go to them or by the container, you see, now this one is full, like Irvin Street was full, the Downs was full, the new project is out and about. Now you see, oh no, I paid 5,000 Rand. So what is the city or what is the people doing that they have been elected? So they've been elected 15 years ago, and you didn't see any progress. Because if you go into the other places, you see all the illegal tenants living there also. I paid 5,000 by the Downs, because they put the money in their pockets and they just issuing out houses, not worried about people waiting on the waiting list to be put into that houses, because we don't go and we don't know where to go find out, now when is it my turn, or when is it my time to have my house? Because I live in Manenberg for 44 years at the same resident. I started with my mother and my father. I grew a family. My children is having children. Your children don't have the privacy. My daughter went to go study. My son is a dropout. Because of what? Because there's no privacy. You live in a one rented house. You just build on a structure because you're waiting. So now my daughter is like having her baby. Her baby needs to grow up. She's studying. We have to do everything in one house. She needs to study. She needs to complete the qualification. The son is a dropout. Why? Because, and the gangsterism is going on. Why is gangsterism going on? Because we are people all cropped up in one place. We are cropped up in one place because the people that's supposed to be serving the community, they only serve to get a position. Now that they have the housing, they give it to their families and their families is sorted out. And we're still on the same place.
Thank you very much. I just want to find out, when you say the 5,000, so those that gets the houses, they have to pay 5,000, then they get to be prioritized.
Prioritized.
Oh, okay. Thank you. MMC boy, and then Mayor. I don't know who's going to be first.
Yeah. No. I just wanted to indicate, just for the record, Executive Mayor will do the closing remarks on our side. But we have, for an example, I just wanted to make an example about the letter issued. We in the process of regularizing what is happening within our rental units. It's a policy that we have adopted as a city to make sure it's not our intention to get people on the street. But one thing that has been very important that came out, and I think I'm very happy because we have a good relationship with safety and security. And I think something that came up today, it shows that safety and security is really assisting us, because what we tag as drug houses, we have a policy on that to make sure that we cannot have those units, because if we allow that, it's going to be a problem. But some of the issues we'll be able to deal with. We've got the executive director here and some of the directors, so they will take the details and make a follow-up on them. But mainly of those issues are issues that we deal with on daily basis, and we'll be able to give a proper response on them entirely. Thank you so much. I think the executive may want to say something.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and bye-bye, dank u, lede van die gemeenskap, members of the community. Just to say, the one allegation you must please give us the details of, if there's a council official who has arranged accommodation for their family member, please just give us the address of that, and we will investigate it and make sure that that is dealt with properly. But I just wanted to, besides all of the individual issues which the team can pick up on, Madam Chair, I just wanted to say, we have to have honest conversations with South Africans. And one of the honest conversations that we have to have with South Africans is that the government will never be able to build enough free houses for everyone. Not now, not this year, not this decade, not this century. It's just, there's inadequate budget and there is far too much need. And already the housing delivery prioritization is for disabled people, for people who are over the age of 65, I think it is, and for people who have been on the waiting list for, is it more than 25 or 20? 20 years. So already the policy is changing to say that there is not going to be free houses for people who don't meet those criteria. And so you can see from national budgets, national government budget allocations on a yearly basis, those allocations are going down. Just like our colleagues in SAPS, they're dealing with shrinking budgets every year. So we are seeing the same in housing, shrinking budgets every year. And I just want to be honest with people about that, because I think for the last 20 years, the expectation has been set is that if you just wait long enough, eventually your turn will come. But I think that is going to, soon the public housing program in South Africa will only be focused on those three kinds of beneficiaries. And I just want to be honest with communities about that.
Thank you very much. I think we need to do the closing and start from Minister Simmers.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Indeed, the aspect of extortion and its impact on human settlements, I think we've covered quite broadly with the various role players here today. And I do hope that the Standing Committee and even our community members present realize it's not an easy to fix solution, but that the one partner which has always been missing, do realize after today that you have a key role to play in assisting the City of Cape Town, the Provincial Department, and all other key stakeholders to ensure that we actually address this matter effectively and efficiently. Because at the end of the day, many of you have alluded to being on the waiting list for a very long time. And the more these people extort, the more we need to reprioritize our provincial budget for security and not for the provision of housing opportunities. The longer you'll have to wait, and as the Mayor correctly says, with the prioritization of who gets these housing opportunities, the list gets longer and longer. But when you play your role with us, I do believe we can actually beat this demon that we call extortion, because it's people in our communities. We know who they are. Kom ons neem ons krag terug. Hou op ons krag vir mense gee wat dit waardig is. Baie dankie.
Thank you very much. Any last word?
I just, I've said my say, ma'am. I just agree wholeheartedly with what the minister has just said.
Minister Ali?
Ek wil net baie dankie sê ook vir die gemeenskap. Ek weet is baie warm hier. We have crime generators in extortion. Load shedding is also considered a crime generator. And the heat that we are feeling in this particular room, criminals should continue to feel it as we are working together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Major General Volsker?
Madam Chair, just simply to note that we've taken cognizance of the various presentations and the inputs from the various role players. We will intensify our approach and ensure that we are able to deliver more speedily and with a lot more focus around many of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think from my side, I really have to say thank you for all being here today really to talk about this, because it's one of the issues that we have been shying away in acknowledging that it is a problem. But again, I will say that our community members, you have a big role to play. And also from the South African police, we need to have a system where you can win the confidence of our communities to make sure they have a system of communicating with you, because if there's no confidence that when they come to you, they're going to get help, we are going to end up really be living in the gangster's paradise and changing the name of Cape Town. And we cannot allow that to happen. You have that responsibility. If we have about 987 million being directed to the security, it is a problem. That is a huge problem, because that money, and that is why we are talking about devolution. If we were directing it to the the responsibility that the Western Cape can play in making sure that we identify and we tackle those issues, it will be a better Western Cape, it will be a better Cape Town. So we need to think that our communities have to be protected, have to get the services as we promise. But we can only do that if we work together in making sure that that has to happen. And I mentioned only the 987 million, which is the city. 1.5 million that the province is doing, and 15 million already that the MMC boy got, and any other funds that are going to the red ends as the eviction happen, and the cost that goes to the courts, and the cost that you have to deploy the security to where the land invasion ad hoc happen. It's another money that should be redirected to the service delivery. If we don't do something drastic, there's no way that we can make this happen. So we have to work together to make sure that that really have to stop. We can't really live in our houses being afraid to go out, because we have the people that feel like they can own our lives. We can't give our lives and depend on the gangsters to be the ones that control us. With that being said, from SAPS, thank you for being here. City, thank you very much. We'll continue to have this conversation. The conversation of 5,000 is worrisome. So MMC boy will be calling you to say, what did you do about that? And please, you have to direct someone to take that. And then I don't know, from Minister Simmons, also direct someone to talk to the community members to take that information. And the committee is going to make sure that they get the information of how far are you, because when they come here, their hope is they will get the answers if they didn't get them. So I don't want to be part of they didn't get answers. I want to be part of solutions to the problems. And the last one, usually I don't have wasteful expenditure. When you go out, there is a passage to the left. There is lunch at the end of the passage. So no wasteful expenditure. I counted all of you. You're going to eat before you go out. So there is a scale. When you pass through the entrance, there was a scale, you didn't see it. After you eat, we are going to check if you added something in you. And if it's still the same, you go back up on the 6th floor to go and eat. So just go that side to have something to eat. And thank you very much for the engagement. I appreciate that. Members, stay put. We need to do resolutions. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. The lunch. Okay. Thank you. Next week. Yes. Yes. At the cluster visit. Yeah. On Monday we have empty. Okay. I won't be there physically, but there's a lot of people. Otherwise, anyway, we'll be working because we are going to do the database, helping to load for the database. If there's any problems, please got myself. Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Okay, so here's the deal. We are supposed to do the resolution.
Member Shun, are you still online?
I'm listening to you, Chairperson, and all the noise, everybody going to lunch. I'm here.
Member Shun, August, are you still online?
Chairperson, I am in attendance. I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just want us to do the resolutions, or do you choose that we will do them on the cluster visit Monday?
I'm happy to see you face to face and do the resolutions Monday, Chair, but if the House agrees to do it now, I have no problem in participating.
Pardon?
I am happy to do it on Monday, but if the House feels they want to do it now, I am happy to participate as well.
Okay, the majority, they're saying that if we can do them Monday, it will be appreciated. So
Thank
with
you, Chairperson.
said, thank you very much, Honorable Member, and I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.